Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. This podcast is looking back to the 2018 original publication of the rap debut album tournament, or the RDAT. Tonight features the semifinals in the Queen's bracket, brought to you by our corporate champion, Corner Stores. We're in every town across the country with loonies, tall boys, lottery tickets, and everything else you need for an everyday struggle on the street. We introduce our guest from my right to left with where they're calling from and their last purchase from their local corner store. Uh, Dan?
What's up, everybody? It's Dan. I am calling from Fairlawn, New Jersey. The last thing I bought at a corner store, I was out with my wife and we had to get hair ties. So things to tie her hair back. That's what we did.
All right. Kenny?
All right, this is Kenny calling in from McDonough, Georgia. And the last thing that I bought from my corner store was a pack of Reese's peanut butter cups. And they actually were blended with Oreos. So it was worth the trip.
Okay. Ed?
Hi, it's Ed Molina from Brooklyn, New York, and the last thing that I bought at my corner bodega, I can't say one of those things, but I bought a seltzer water, black cherry. I can't say what the other thing was bought because it might be illegal in some states.
Okay,
So,
that's fine. That's fine. To each their own. Both of the albums in tonight's contest have a strong pedigree and, more importantly, longevity. And the album is this episode is titled Reggie Jackson versus Alan Trammell, and I say that because it's an easy baseball comparison as far as I'm concerned, because only true hardcore baseball fans can remember the name Alan Trammell and know that he's a Hall of Famer. Unless you're from Detroit and remember the 1984 World Series, of which he was the MVP. He played for 20 years. He's an MVP award. But here's my first question. If you're born in the 21st century, Ed, do you have any idea who Black Sheep is?
now you might have heard the choice is yours at like an old ed party, or you know what I
Oh
mean?
well,
But
you've heard the choice is yours, but no, is Kenny, if you're born in the 21st century, have you heard of Black Sheep? If someone said Black Sheep, not anything
Absolutely
else.
not. Absolutely not. Unless they're just raised by pure hip hop heads or they took the initiative to dig into crates to learn about some of the older acts, they wouldn't know who Black Sheep. They couldn't pick him out of a police lineup.
Dan, are you going to initiate your child with Black Sheep and introduce them to the to the 9.5?
I'll tell you something. There's like an old Onion headline that's like about a dad like introducing his kids to music that doesn't matter to the kids. That I'd love to. Also, the language. My kids are 12 and 11, so it's border like they're old enough to know the language and old enough not to be saying most of that stuff. So probably not yet.
All right, well, that's well, actually, this is close to when I first heard this album, but I was a little older. And Ed, you're right. I was gonna say that's why I kind of cut you off, which is you, you're they might not know Black Sheep, but they know their signature hit, "The Choice Is
I
Yours," the
I I
revisited
was
version in some form of fashion. Yeah, yeah.
they only know the part engine number nine. They don't know the
Hmm.
song.
No,
They don't
but
know they don't know you could get with this, you get, they don't even know the chorus.
they've
They
heard
they
that. But yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
like but that's what I'm saying. It's like it's one of those things where, and I don't go to clubs anymore. I have no business. I'm not Drake. I have no business being in clubs, right? But like he you hear DJs kind of like at weddings do the snippet engine number nine. You get the pop from like the older heads. They play that part and then they spin into another song. That's what a lot of DJs do. So I don't even know if they would even recognize a song. It would just be that snippet where it gets the crowd hot, as they say in wrestling,
That
right?
sample or you just the instrumental behind it, that doom doom, like
Yep.
that
Hmm.
loop and
Yeah.
everything behind it, everything. Um, this is from my 2018 article. It's mimicked and replayed in everything from films like You Got Served and Step Up to video games, NBA Street Volume 2. and commercials for Airheads and the 2010 Kia Soul, they're still in commercials because even you could get with this or you could get with that. I've heard that someone using that
Oh,
and
that's in the car commercial. Yes.
yeah, I was gonna say like it's there's similar loops and cuts that are in hip hop history that have almost lost their creator because it's just lost to the generations that don't, that know it, that don't know where it actually came from. Basically, you know what I mean? It's like it's lost to that. Can you think of
I will.
anything else? I feel like things
I
like
feel I do feel like there's a segment, and this is just my personal experience with some Gen Zers. There's some of them have a certain curiosity of like they'll hear something in a car commercial, like a slam, and they'll go down rabbit holes. I had two coworkers at a previous job, like they made me a mixtape by today's standards, which would be Spotify, right? Playlist of like J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, like just to put me onto that because I was being an old head about Drake, right? That's their that's their big three, right? And so they were asking me about stuff like, and so I'm trying to put them on to like, oh, you like Kanye? Because this is before the whole Kanye went very, very right. But it's like, oh, you like Kanye? You might want to give Native Tongues a chance. So it really depends on the curiosity of the Gen Zer. That said, there's a lot of shitheads out there, millennials and Zers, that are like nothing existed past their lifetime. They're Nat's existence, right? Like
I I understand when you're saying that, but what I'm saying is there are hip hop loops and things like that that have escaped past that point. That the fact that I'm thinking of raw bass and I want to, and I've come to get down, just that rhyme style, things like that, which are that have gone past just, the songs and loops like that that have gone past the point of, I mean, you get what I'm saying, Dan?
I
Oh yeah, I would
I think
actually, I would say, "Bust a Move," Young MC.
Mhm.
yes.
Because I've heard that song in pizza commercials and all those type of commercials. Nobody knows who Young MC is.
Exactly. Dan, can you think of any, you get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying. It was probably a stretch too, where like you could have heard like the Humpty dance or just something from Humpty and not known about Digital Underground. I don't know if that's
Hmm.
still that's probably still a little bit old. I think people have
No,
heard that like the Sugar Hill Gang, the hip to
Oh
Slam.
yeah,
I know Onyx was used in a commercial recently. I think a
that's
car
right.
commercial.
You know,
Slam.
what's funny? MOP's been using the commercials a lot lately.
Yes.
I
Anti
mean, I
up.
love
I
it, but
I
like
I
Oh,
love it. I love it.
everywhere now.
That's
I
Andy Up's
I
love it.
everywhere.
I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing. Every time I hear it, I smile so much. It's
it as a Brooklyn kid, you don't know how I smile from ear to ear that their most commercial hit that's being used in commercials nowadays in 2026 is about robbing the club. The song is about robbing the
Absolutely.
Yes, and
club.
holding people for ransom. I
the
love
song
Yes.
is
it.
called
Yes.
the chorus is called Ante Up. It's called Ante Up. What do you got? Let's go.
Yo,
Rob
and
that
and
fool.
I love the
Oh,
remix. I love the remix because Remy Ma kind of
that's
steals the
beautiful.
verse, man.
It
Oh
is.
man, she kind
But
of steals it.
yeah,
Yeah, but
for the
it's
kids, they had in the most recent
um,
Ninja Turtle movie, the animated one, like a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Andy Up was in it twice. Like,
Yep.
so it
yeah.
was like
And
amongst other great songs from that era.
That movie, and you know what's funny about that movie? It was very subliminal because there was a point because Ice Cube's in the movie. He plays one of the mutants, and he started
mhm.
quoting 6 a.m. in
Ice
the
T,
morning.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quoting those
like
stuff. But in the Turtles' defense, they were robbing people. So,
Oh
they were
yes,
running
that's
in and
true.
out of they were running I've seen that movie. They were running in and out of people's shops. They were grabbing things on the slide. So they weren't sticking people up, but they were robbing them. So and it is Andy Up, the
but but
Robin
but
Hood theme. So
but Annie is it's a specific type of robbery. This isn't I just snatched your hat and
yeah.
kept it running. This is gun to the face. What size are
Yeah,
those? Run your shit. Like that's a very
I,
specific type of
you know
it
burglary.
really
what?
is.
You gonna make me go and look up the song. While I'm looking that up, I'm gonna ask and have we'll go around starting with Dan. Just going back to the point of this as we come back to Black Sheep, which is the group that has kind of been lost by this. So going back and listening to A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, what was your favorite track on that, Dan?
It's a good question. I make sure I get the name right, but it was cool going back and listening to it just because that was like a very indelible memory of like first hearing it when Martin, we're the same age, so it was like freshman year of high school, and just getting into like that era of our lives, and like that era of hip hop was a great way to have that, like a great era to be around when you're having that stuff. I always liked I mean I like this album, like for the most part top to bottom. I Have You Any Pull was one I always liked a lot. If it, going off of like the big hit ones.
Well, I mean, you can pick the big hit ones. Kenny, are you a big hit fan, or is there a deep cut off of this album that's your favorite?
I'm a deep cut person, and same thing as Dan. I listened to the album this morning on the way to work, and it's been a long time since I listened to it, and I forgot just how much I really enjoyed this. I was in my 10th grade year in high school, and me and my friends played this album constantly. And the song that we always kept landing on was "Give Me the Finger."
I know you wanna.
Yeah. And then on
And
another note, also another thing that and I apologize, that just one more
oh,
last
go
thing
No,
I
ahead,
no,
just
no,
wanted to
you're
say
please,
good. You're
was
please.
the fact
good.
was the fact that also what I loved about this album was just how different it was back then, because most of the rap artists were still sampling James Brown around that time, and Black Sheep and the rest of Native Tongue. They were coming with these obscure samples, which really highlighted the album. So it was fun going back down memory lane.
Ed, your favorite?
You know, outside of The Choice Is Yours, because that song was just a banger. Like, you know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, it's just I think to this day it could probably play and be successful in this weirdo market of singles. But my favorite song outside of that was Similac Child. I love that beat on that. I love the production.
Yes.
It's a love story. He's kind of telling a story of love lost to a degree. With the dogs, the way the dogs barking, I think was interpolated. I'll use English. But the way it was mixed in with that
Dun, dun,
That
dun,
sample
it's,
is so
it's
crazy.
I don't know if
Ooh.
it's a horn or something, but that I always, even back then, that was always the song that I always land on because it was such,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Um, the
Might
choices,
be a piano.
obviously, that was a good one. And then it's funny, y'all talking about re-listening. I did not like this album as much as I did as a kid. That was the one thing I caught myself.
Interesting.
I found myself skipping certain tracks that I would have listened to back in the day. But the songs that I really liked, like the production, the lyrics, everything, it really is really good. I also felt the album was too long, 20 tracks.
Oh
Jesus.
yeah.
And I mean, I know I complain about Nas and 10 tracks, really nine and Illmatic, but this was like it kind of became a slog towards the end to listen to. But
Hmm.
the other favorite that I hadn't listened to in a while, Strobe Light Honey, is
Yes.
hilarious.
Yes.
And it's hilarious to me because
It's
I've been in that situation when the lights are come back on at the bar and or the club, and you're way too jacked and cokes deep into the night, and you're like, oh damn, what did I
seven
do?
six five 4321. What area code?
Area code
One nine hundred.
900, 900. I'm like, oh damn,
Yeah.
do I give her the number? Like, ooh,
I
what was I? Yeah, and
I
so
could
like,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, no,
I'm
no,
done.
no. I just that song kind of brought me back to a place. Again, but the production was good. Flavor of the Month is really good. I forgot how much I liked that
Yes.
song too.
Wow.
Yeah, like it
The
was Flavor of the Month, and people forget that's the other track that popped outside of The Choice Is Yours. I think that might have been the
mhm.
lead single. I'm
That
not. I don't.
was.
There's four actually. I want to say because it's flavor of the month. Strobe Light Honey actually was a single, I believe, but it's those three. I take that back. But yeah, it's the one thing, and it kind of slips in. We're talking about that is and it is for the choice is yours, which is at the end of Are You Mad? Which is first. I want to say this is the first time I heard somebody go, "Did I stutter, motherfucker?" We are going to. I feel that might have been the first time I heard it. It might have been used elsewhere, but that's the first I've heard it, and I've always loved that since. Which is, but
I don't know if
that's
Martin said it first or him, but one of those two said it first.
Mm.
Did I?
it might have been, but yeah, but it's that is the one sort of track where the one little bit where there's violence because the rest of the entire album is we're just looking to either rhyme, like, rap and have fun, or get with this strobe light, or any of the hoes we knows, and any, like they're just hanging out. That, I
It's
mean, it's
it
like, and it's and go ahead.
wasn't that the beauty of native tongues though? It's like
That
we
was
lived in we lived in an era where we had our thug music like MOP that we just mentioned, as well as the LA sound coming out with NWA. But we had Black Sheep, we had Flavor Unit with Latifah and Tretch with them out there in your part of the net in Jersey. We had De La Soul coming out of Long Island. Of course, we had
so
Tribe. Like we had Jungle Brothers. I know you're more into house, Martin. Like we had Jungle, JB, man.
you've gone through all that, so you've already set up my next question, which is literally written down here, which is A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing the best native tongue debut album? Debut album, not the best native tongue album, but the
Mm.
first as their debut. Like
I
you
wouldn't
could,
put it better than 3 Feet High and Rising.
That's why I was
okay.
biting my tongue.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. Definitely would put it.
I wasn't even thinking about
See,
Tribe Called Quest. I was thinking about De La Soul, 3 Feet High, and
yeah,
Rock.
well, that
You were
goes.
like because you had mentioned about sampling and whatnot. I mean, I think they
Hmm.
kind of ended up paying a lot of different bands and acts for like a lot of the sampling in that album. Like talk about
All
ahead
the
of its
native tongue
time.
albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like to me that Three Behind Rise is up there with like Paul's Boutique as far as like the production of taking all these different sounds from different genres and making these classics.
Hmm, definitely. You
Yeah,
had
I mean, and
mentioned it.
you hear the
Go
influence
ahead.
of it in Wolf in Sheep's Clothes. Like it's got a very like if Prince Paul didn't do it, then it's Prince Paul influenced for sure.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
he's in the studio when Mr. Long is doing this and everything like that. They were, yeah, yes, I
so like
completely agree.
but there's this. I think where we get with this too is like Ed, you said like it's not as didn't hit as hard as when we were kids. A little bit of this album because of the fun and like the language and like and the sexual talk. When you're 14 years old, that is amazing. And like you're getting like your first introduction into like adult, quote unquote, adult music.
Mhm.
Right.
When we're in our 40s or whatever, it's not quite as transgressive
I'm
now as
I'm
it was then.
saving I am saving that I'm saving that for a little bit later, but
Okay.
yeah, is there um Kenny, your thoughts as oh, I guess I was talking about you. So everybody's in agreement that apparently that Three Free High and Rising is the best native tongue debut album, but
Absolutely.
this is still I'd argue that this is a I don't want to say a distant second, but an easy second because there's just too many there's just too many there's too many tracks that are either within hip hop in in the mindset, just the whole strobe light honey, some of the cuts and samples that are in that track, some of the cuts and samples in Choice Is Yours, and there's just so much of this stuff that it's like it's been repeated and pulled out from here and has been continued on. But there's also tracks that we've all kind of been like, yeah, let's get through this one. So everybody having listened to it again, what track did you want to, or did you quickly skip? Anyone? Ed, you got
Um,
one? Go ahead.
yeah, I
Well,
do. Hold on. It was the
you got
opening track, and
one.
it was the opening track. I'm trying to find a name, and I can't right now.
It's
You
the
mean I'm
You
not
Mean I'm Not, the one that
You mean
was
I'm not?
like
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I gave it. I usually have a 30-second rule with a song where it's like you got 30. The rugged genre, you got 30 seconds to
Well,
impress me
that's
on
the
change.
intro to the album. I was gonna say I get what you're saying, but that's the intro to the album because yeah, it is to then all come back to the joke of, so yeah, if you didn't get the joke from the beginning, then you didn't wait for the punchline, then I can
Yeah,
understand that. So that's
Right.
understandable.
yeah.
Kenny,
But
did you have a skip track?
Yes, I do. For me, it's the original version. The choice is yours. That's like fingernails on a chalkboard for me.
it don't
Dan?
sound right.
It really doesn't.
Now are your ears ruined because you know of the remix? Is that
Yes,
also a problem of it? I mean, like it's because if that was it by itself, if that was the one, then you know it's
it would
not
still
it.
be a skippable track if the remix didn't exist. that would be a track I would still skip. But
Not a good track.
yeah, it's not. It's not.
Well, it got him out of that, it got him out of the guy who pulled the gun on him in the
Yeah.
previous track. So, Dan, is there any what tracks you skipped?
Mine was the same as Ed's. Like that, like you mean I'm not as I get why they did it, like, and the sense of humor that is through the album is fun, but like I didn't need to hear it again. Like I remembered it, and it's like, yeah, it's fine, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a lot of tracks towards the end that you're not skipping, but the last track actually is the one that you're not skipping, which is The Choice Is Yours Revisited, which is what we're always
Right.
talking about.
I
This is
just thought
not
another
as
note, another fun track I love
go ahead.
is For Those That Slept.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
that's right.
listening to that
Before I
song.
move on, forget about it. For those that slept, Dan, that is lyrics that you couldn't share with your children at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they've
yo.
heard that word once or twice, but no.
For those who don't know, for those that did sleep, basically it's a DJ track essentially because it's all scratched up versions of someone saying F you, F
Oh
you,
yeah, old
F
Millie
you.
Jackson sample.
Yeah, so it's just sampled over and everything like that into a song, or at least a time track on the album. But I'm not talking about that. I was talking about the track afterward, which is The Choice Is Yours, which is what we talked about with Engine number 9 and everything like
Right.
that. That was for a good decade an absolute banger that you could put on and everybody knew. I mean, like you said, you could still sample into it now. So is it recency bias that when I say is was in the club feel like it was way bigger than that Choice Is Yours Revisited?
That's a better track. I'm sorry. Nah, I'm a down that hill. Up in the Club is a song where I can play it at the whitest bar mitzvah. I could play it at an NBA arena. I could play it probably at a clan rally, and you'll hear "Go Shorty, it's your birthday." Like it's just indelible. Like I 50 Cent, and it is maybe I don't think it is recency bias. 50 Cent hit the American zeitgeist and mainstream in much the way Mike Tyson did. We're talking about a guy who is essentially Omar from The Wire robbing drug dealers. This isn't a JFK Jay-Z type of story of a hustler's ambition. This dude was a street dude. He was outside, like the kids say, right? Like he was robbing drug dealers. He was starting beef with major drug operations like Supreme Team. He was starting beef with Haitian Jack and Hamo and Black Just, and these are names that used to ring out back in the day that if you heard them coming, you was running. Not 50, not Curtis Jackson. I I know people that know jack shit about hip hop who know 50 Cent because of some beef that he had with some reality TV star. Like, you know what I mean? It's 50's a whole different beast, man. Like it's
I'm not talking about I understand 50 Cent and his history, but Kenny, I'm asking about the specific the specific song in the club or Choice Is Yours. Which one was bigger?
In the club was much bigger. That song is so undeniable. Even now, to Ed's point, you could throw that song on literally anywhere, and that's a song where you're always going to know who the artist is. 50. So it's never going to be a situation where, like with Black Sheep, we've forgotten who it is over time. We will always know the artist, and we will always know the song, and that song is going to live forever.
And is this a full sweep on in the club
I mean, it
being
is
bigger?
because it to everyone's point, it was a much more mainstream hit than The
Yeah.
Choice Is Yours ever was. The Choice was big, but this, like, in the club was why 50 Cent was known by all these, mainstream people who would never care about hip hop to begin with. Like that song was
No,
that
it
big.
it was on the charts for 22 weeks. It still gets spins, and
can
as I
I
said at the
Can I add one
um
quick thing? One little quick thing. They asked Dr. Dre like his greatest beat, his greatest song of all time. He said that his biggest regret ever, because he had it for the quote unquote detox album that never came out. He had in that beat set for himself. He gave that to 50 because he needed a banger for his debut album or his real debut album. And he's like, that's the one beat I regret ever giving to anybody else.
Mm,
That's how dope that beat is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Reggie Jackson, who remains famous and will forever remain famous for hitting 3 home runs in a row off 3 consecutive pitches from 3 different pitchers in Game 6 of the 1977 World Series. That is the kind of thing that you just saying it out loud. It's like you just hear what I just in the
Yeah,
World Series. It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
yeah.
So
Right.
that kind of thing is basically what we're talking about when we talk about this album, Get Rich or Die Trying. What is it debuted and peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200. Is that enough, Dan, to just move this conversation that 50 Cent is going to move on in this battle?
I mean, look, if we are being completely non-biased by our own personal tastes, then I think it
Hmm.
has to, right? I mean, it's a bigger record. It turned 50 into a bigger star. Like it's a bigger deal than what the Black Sheep was. Again, like I personally like the Black Sheep album way better than I like this album by 50.
Hmm.
But I know that's me. Like for whatever reason, 50 doesn't do it for me. I tried it again today, and I'm like, maybe I just was different than, or and it's still like, I'm not saying it's bad. It just never moved me in the same way.
Hmm.
Never like it never
No.
struck that nerve with me. But that's me. So like, I'm also not gonna be like, well, because I don't like it, that means it's the worst. No, like
But
it was huge. Like it sold. People liked it. The people who he made it for, like
well, let
still
me
love
ask
it.
you.
Like, you know what I
Well,
mean? So
yeah.
it's
Well,
gotta
let
go
me
on.
ask you this though. As far as you not liking it, but listening to it again and hearing the production, like he was saying, with like that beat from Dre that he gave up, just the beats from Dre and Rockweiler and some of the other that that did beats on this album, did it sound like something you would, that you could listen to and respect in that sense, or no?
Honestly, only some of them. Some of them, like, look, the In the Club beat is undeniably great, and I think almost anybody could have done something great with that beat.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones were a little boring, honestly. Like, I mean, like they weren't bad, but this album also, like, as you mentioned, like a slog. This album also turns into a slog at some point, like, which was the era. Like half the songs could have been shorter, half the album could have been shorter. So yeah, I mean, again, I won't say it's bad, but there's definitely there's diminishing returns past some of the biggest hits on this, I think.
Mhm. Penny, just going about production, Mr. Long did the bulk of the production for the Black Sheep for A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Does his ability to kind of match ideally the musical sound with his lyricist, is he better at that than, because Dre is sort of the executive producer for this entire album? Like he's specifically got about credit for about 4 tracks, like In the Club, Heat, If I Can't, and Back Down. Those are the 4 specific to Dre, but he's got a stamp on all of this. Uh, the difference of, I mean, like the fact that the Black Sheep album, you can kind of sense the whole sound of it matches. See what I'm saying? Whereas with 50, he kind of does have to go back and forth over it, but it sounds kind of the same. What are your thoughts?
Well, here's what I'll say to
Um,
that. Okay, go
oh,
ahead. Sorry.
oh no, you can go ahead. You're fine.
All I was gonna say is I think 50's style is pretty blunt and straight ahead, and the production on this is pretty blunt and straight ahead. Like there's not like not a ton of like clever playfulness. It's all just like attitude, swagger, straight. Like, I'm telling you what's what. The Black Sheep one has got that like native tongue style sense of humor. There's like a playful, Drez has got like, this, it's funny, it's playing around, it's joking around, and the production match. I think it actually kind of ties that way. Like that, the styles are very different, but the production matches the styles pretty well.
Kenny?
I would definitely agree with Dan. You took the words right out of my mouth. The production really matches Dred's vocal styles, and whereas with 50, it's basically just hard rhymes over hard beats. So I definitely agree with Dan.
But hey, I think 50 does. I think we're not giving 50. It doesn't sound like we're giving 50 enough credit for what he what he is doing lyrically on this album, or
I
am I?
it's it, no, I am the audience, right? a lot of swagger, a lot of like I was very big G Unit fan, and I will say so much so that Get Rich or Die Trying is one of my favorite albums, top to bottom, any genre. Like I put it up there with Paranoid, I put it up there with Guns N' Roses. It's one of the most complete hip hop albums. I don't. There's not really a skippable track for me, but again, I think I was the audience for that at the time. Um, it was just so straight ahead, such a it was literally when you hear that coin drop G Unit, it's just the bass just punches you in the face like he's robbing you, like he used to rob his drug dealers around the way, right? But that's the sound, that's the vibe he was looking for. This is a guy that going into this album got shot 9 times. The swag of that album matches the swag of the person in the booth. And I think the production with all the production is a byproduct of today, right? Today's like you're not the shit unless you have all these megastar producers, right? Like you gotta, and to a degree, that's what 50 did. What I do love about, and to everyone's point here with Black Sheep, there was a chemistry there between Drez and Mr. Long that's undeniable. Like you see, like they were in the booth. He might have even been in the writing process as he's writing lyrics. It's like, oh, I got a beat for that. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's almost like a tag team wrestling. Like the Road Warriors, the Steiner Brothers, they're a natural tag team, as they say, and not two single wrestlers like put together. There's a chemistry there. There's a teamwork there. You know, in a lot of ways it was like watching the British Bulldogs, right? Whereas 50 is more as like this is John Cena teaming up with Shawn Michaels, and this is
See,
John Cena
I
teaming
would
up with
That is a
argue,
Undertaker.
great analogy.
I
I
would
like
argue
that.
that he's
I like
Shawn
that.
Michaels, where he's also able to go, where he's able to kind of go tag team.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, no, yeah, and that, but that's the versatility of 50. And again, he's not
that's
lyrically the best rapper of his era, but he got bars. Like I love you like a fat kid loves cake is an awesome line on 21 Questions, and that's his lovey-dovey song. That's the other thing. This thug ain't afraid to get a little lovey-dovey with 21 Questions in his own thug passion kind of way, if you will. You know,
you say that, and 21 questions. If you're ready, if you're in the mood to skip, 21 questions is an easy one to go. I'm skipping past this
yes,
one, but I'll argue that 21 questions is it's got Nate Dogg. And there's only
fair.
so much that you can find that you're good. That first off, there's only so much that you have Nate Dogg, period. And so therefore, and Nate Dogg doesn't seem to sing about. You want him to sing about other things. Nate Dogg only sings about being a gangster and G stuff like that. So so he almost
Mm.
has to be on that kind. It's sad. I love Nate Dogg. I love his sound, but you can go back and listen to Nate Dogg. It's not any. There's nothing that's about as close to
Nate
he's still
Dogg
gonna I
sings
love me and
about
everything like that. He
Nate
thinks
Dogg
about being
sings
a
about
gangster.
women, about being a gangster, and smoke weed every day, which is still one of
That's
the
right.
greatest closing lines of all time.
Yep. Yep.
Hey,
This
hey, hey, smoke weed every day.
Yes.
uh so before I get to the previously addressed, Dan, are there any tracks that you did skip? How many did you skip? How about that? Of the I'm looking at 2019, 19 with Life's on the Line being the last one. How many did you skip?
I skipped a few just because like again I got
God,
to
I'm asking for a specific number.
oh,
Kenny,
I probably
you can
skipped
count
about
them up. Go ahead, you count them up. Kenny,
no,
what did you skip off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I skipped past PIMP. That song just, I guess, I'm just so tired of that song. I didn't even really like it the first time I heard the album, but now I despise that song.
Dan, you got a number?
I got about four.
Okay,
And that was and not because anything was particularly bad. I was just like it I was getting bored.
understandable. Um, yeah, I would have skipped past Don't Push Me, but then Eminem shows up. I would have skipped past 21 Questions, but like I said, it's the only thing with Nate Dogg. I'm just going through
I
as
skipped
far
past
as
Bloodhound.
I was gonna say Bloodhound,
I
and
didn't even listen to Young Buck.
it
Young Buck got bars, but I didn't really listen. Not this one. No, no. Look, Buck got bars because like the album that he did, the G Unit album that came out after this was pretty dope. Like it had a lot of good tracks by the crew. Tony Yayo, Fake Love comes to mind, but as far as this album, to me, that's the skippable track, and "Gotta Make It to Heaven" to get to. That's the last song. But if you got the bonus album like I did,
which has got
after that you get
Wankster.
"Wangsta," "Life's on the Line," which love that song. But again,
Life's
that
on
was
the
already
line.
out. It was already out in mixtapes. "Life's on the
Yeah,
Line."
yeah.
So
It's yeah. All right, so I've saved all this because while it comes to sheep, while they're coming from a different sound, and you're talking about the sound of it in terms of the bass and everything like that, their topics are similar to those before. In fact, almost too much. From 2018, I quoted a verse from Black Sheep's track "Hose We Knows," as well as the skit where the topic is actually addressed, which is LASM, which stands for Ladies Against Sexist Motherfuckers. And Black Sheep are directly asked, I quote, "Where do you come off thinking you're God's gift to the world? It's dogs like you that make men look so bad. Do you really think this bullshit is going to sell?" That's a question that's been parroted and passed down as the landscape of the genre has changed, with staples like degrading women has remained. So at the end of the day, 50 was the best-selling album in 2003 with 9 million certified sales, with lines like "The birds, if they say I got away with words, I'd be like, baby girl, I like them curves. If you're not busy tonight, then we can swerve. I'm a bachelor, baby. Fuck what you heard." what what can we even make from the fact that it's two different genres, it's two different, I mean, two different genres, two different sounds of rap, but we both have signified that they were important albums for their time and what all-time albums and everything like that, and it's the same exact topic. It's the same thing back and
well, hip
forth.
hop
What
needs to evolve. I think that's something that even I don't want to give C. Dolores Tucker props because I'm still beefing with her spirit in some way. But there is something to the criticism of the misogyny in hip hop, right? Like it's never ending, it seems like. And even I think with some of today's artists, like in Ice Spice, it even within the women in hip hop, it seems like there is this sexuality that is constantly pushed in hip hop, where you have someone like Dolce that just shines because it's like, well, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not doing, there's a lane for Cardi B, but there needs to be a lane. Hip hop needs to evolve away from that. Now, how that looks like, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here, and I don't know if I'm the audience for it. I'll be honest with you. I'm a broken old man, so I think that's more an indictment of the industry. I think.
you you say that, but Dan, I'm pointing you. Did you have any thoughts before I go ahead and I'm going to come back to you on this, but go ahead.
Look, I think it's been like the evolving as a genre, I think is important. And even at 2003, it wasn't that old of a genre at that point, right? I mean, like really
Fair. Hmm.
20 years, from blowing up kind of mainstream in the 80s to then. I mean, that not that long in the grand scheme of things. The misogyny is there, the homophobia is there, like it's, the stupid stuff is there. It's not wildly unique to hip hop, by the way. It just, it's
That's
a little more
yeah.
straightforward. I mean, it's not like rock and roll is littered with, you know,
Fair. Absolutely.
sex
Guns N' Roses.
positive
Yeah.
Absolutely.
either. You
Yeah.
know what I
Gonna
mean?
say
Like it's
Guns N' Roses.
it's
You can go back to Led Zeppelin and Fat Bottom
AC/DC
Girls, and I was gonna say,
is.
yeah,
I
this
love
is, I mean,
AC/DC, but there's an argument there to be made about the
yeah,
misogyny in their music. So
yeah,
that's
ZZ Top.
it.
Like you could point to a lot of
Yeah.
different stuff, right? I mean, like
yeah.
it's there. I think it also goes back to what we were saying before. Some of that stuff is funnier when you're young and because you're ignorant. And then
Mhm.
you get older and it's like, this is really terrible. And I didn't think about how terrible this was, but it's not going to
So
go away, unfortunately,
so
until we've like evolved
Kenny,
as a society.
uh, does the fact that this is their debut album, so essentially, uh, both of them, both 50 and Black Sheep, both Mr. Long and Drez, had been working in the industry in some form of fashion, had been on other people's albums as on singles and such like that. Like you said, like Life Was on the Line had been out. Like uh Mr. Long is the voice all over De La Soul is Dead. You know what I mean? It's like they were around music. This is their debut album. Does that give him a pass on still being so childish as far as that's concerned?
I don't.
I was asking Kenny, but
Sorry. No, no.
Well,
no.
It's a good question.
I you're right. That is a good question. I would say yes because we still come from a time where it was cool to be politically incorrect. So, like to
Mm.
Dan's point, we snickered at it, we laughed at it, but as we get older, a lot of that stuff is cringeworthy. So, I would give them a pass because of the time we were politically incorrect back then about just about everything.
I could argue that we're still politically incorrect, but I mean, we're just louder about. There's
Oh yeah,
there's now the ability to point people out and say it louder than everybody else that, hey, this person is being politically incorrect is
oh yeah. There's
a
more
little different. So,
accountability these days, but yeah, you're to that point. You are right.
oh, right.
But it's also
But
they were made like they were like, you get a pass on a debut album to some degree because you're young too. Like if I
yeah,
mean, I don't know how old Black Sheep were, but they couldn't be more than their early 20s, if not younger,
that's
Oh
that's my
yeah,
point.
right?
I was gonna say you're if this is your they had both artists, both 50 and Black Sheep had been in the industry, so to speak. They'd been around, but this is the first time they put anything down, and it's probably at no less than, yeah, 22, 24, 20 is. And thinking back to when I was that same age, it's like, yeah, no, I moved around and stuff like that, but I was still pretty stupid. So, you know,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
and your idea of what of like like what's transgressive and funny, it just changes as you get older, and that's true
oh,
of like
And
if 50 Cent is 50 years old and still rapping about, candy
But he's
shops,
and
then
but
and
he's
like
to yes, but and Dan, to your point, that's my problem with modern. I mean, I never liked Drake, but that's my problem with modern Drake. You're the 40-year-old guy still going to the club, rapping about trying to pick up 19-year-olds, being the 40-year-old in the club. There's no evolution there.
yeah,
And I don't know if pass is the right word. Look, we were blessed to a degree that we were born in an era where there weren't all these cameras around. We got away with murder, right? Like,
very, very much so.
yeah.
yeah,
We
like
did.
the stuff that we did as kids could never. 90% of us
the
would be unemployed if social
that's
media
the
is around. Like
that's
that's
the
the
entire
reality.
that's the entire 20th century though. That you're
But
that's
my
the
my but I
we just
think it
happen to
can.
still be we just happen to still be around from the 20th century, but the entire 20th century is like, oh my gosh, if cameras were around, if camera phones were around, dot dot dot, so much
Like
wouldn't have happened. But
but to me it's not about getting it past, it's about using it to evolve, right? You could see something like even 50 Cent and both of them as a snapshot of that time and place at that given time. That's how I kind of view Guns N' Roses, right? Or Motley Crue. They were a snapshot of a scene of that time and place of Los Angeles, if you will, more than likely, right? That music reflected that time, that era. I so I don't know if it's a pass. I think it's more like we should let's evolve past that. Now,
Right,
now,
Dan had mentioned earlier about like it's not just hip hop. It's an industry issue, right? Like industry keeps pushing these narratives. They keep falling back on these narratives to a degree, which is maybe why we still have Drake rapping about being the
but
40-year-old at the club.
right.
50 is now I've not watched any of it, but is it Power, I believe that
Yes,
50 is the
I
executive producer
watch.
behind.
I
I
watch.
do
So
too.
isn't wouldn't that in basically being putting out the same the same content that we're talking not to that I don't know the misogyny that's happening on the show, but I've got to assume because it's about power, right? It's about the same drugs
Well,
and rapper and stuff like that that he's talking about on
Well,
this album. It's now he's
well,
just
nope.
no,
That's the irony of it. The show writers, the showrunners are all women for both BMF and for Power. It's like
Right.
so the writers in the room are women. So and actually in Power, and Kenny, you might agree with me, the more powerful characters, the more important characters are the women in the lives of these drug dealers.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Ghost Wife or with Tommy is his with the conclusion of Ghost, his mom, which is also his mom, Tariq's mom, With even
Oh,
with Tommy,
Ed,
the women.
pause a sec.
Sure.
Dan is this flying over your head too?
I've seen a little bit of Power, but
Okay,
the
so I'm alone. All right.
yeah,
As long as
but they look, it's also like it's not 50 doing it. Like it's behind the scenes stuff. Like
Mhm.
I think it's like, look, the stuff sells. People watch it or listen to it, whatever it is. It's hard to fault artists for wanting to be successful. And I think so. Some of that is not just even an industry thing. It's a reflection of our society and what we want and what we gravitate towards. And it would be, it would be nice if we collectively rejected some of this stuff and say, all right, like enough of this already. But we don't, and so it's there. And as long as the desire is there, someone's going to supply it, right? I mean,
That's capitalism. Yes,
that's
absolutely.
capitalism, that's
capitalism.
economics,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The Also, by the way, like 50 Cent like I like him as a person and a like a impresario more
Personality.
than I like him as
Mhm.
an artist. Like it's funny to
Yeah.
me. Like I talked about sense of humor before. 50 is funny.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
he's hilarious. The album wasn't funny, but like he's funny. And
I Go ahead.
I
No,
love that.
I would argue the album is hilarious because there's so much of him singing and just basically he just taking, like basically, you know what it is? He's doing what Kanye had kind of almost kind of perfected, where the chorus is a 16 bar verse that becomes a verse that you kind of think about as opposed to any verses in the song. Because 50 does that on about two of these. But the other thing I forgot is um I can't remember which track it is. He he destroys Ja Rule on one of those
Oh,
tracks.
back down. That's
Like
back down.
it's
Back
Oh,
down.
that's one
like
of my
Yeah.
favorite. That's
like
my favorite diss tracks of all time.
I
Your
I
mammy, your pappy, that woman you
I
call your wife. Yeah, everyone caught it. Everyone caught it.
the thing I hadn't heard that song in so long, and I listened to it and I'm just sitting there going, I'd completely forgot about this because I'd completely forgot about Ja Rule because this is the kind of track that makes him where you don't think about Ja Rule anymore. Kind of like Kendrick, you don't think about you talking about Drake as a rapper. You don't think about him as a rapper anymore. You can't do that anymore after what Kendrick did. I didn't hear Ja Rule for Does anybody remember Ja Rule?
We just
It's
heard Ja
like,
Rule in the news actually recently
Yeah.
this week.
but it wasn't for music.
No, it wasn't for no, 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 no,
It
no, no, no,
was
no,
the music.
no, 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 no. Which to Dan's point about 50 as a personality, right? Do you know how petty a man you have to be to buy the first 300 rows or the first whatever rows of Ja Rule's
Oh, is that what?
concert so
That's
that
right.
he is performing in front of an empty venue? Like, do you realize the level, the money spent, the level of petty? And that's one thing as a New Yorker that I love about 50 Cent. He's a true New Yorker. You're a true New Yorker in
All right.
that Queens dudes are the pettiest people on the planet, man. They will
Yeah.
hold a grudge forever. And 50 is an example. He just did a Super Bowl commercial for, was it Instacart, about beef, about buying beef related to all the beef that he has. That, to Dan's point, that's funny. And that's a
Mm,
great sense of humor.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, producing the Puffy documentary basically is like,
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
I
right. I
told you
forgot
all about
about
him,
that. I
and
forgot
here I'm
about
gonna put some
that.
money out.
Right.
See, that's one of the things is in his songs on the album. He says, I feel good to just throw 50 grand to somebody in the hood and not think about it. Because that's the kind of thing where I've got 50 grand to throw at a documentary. What is it going? I got that money to throw at this Puff thing because I got beef with him. To I got money to buy those seats just to make sure he's doing, like you said, performing in front of an empty crowd because I'm that petty because I got the money to do it. Is it and so we've already determined and decided. So this is get rich and die trying moves on. There's a 1, 2, 3 unanimous decision because yeah, it
Yes.
was the
Yeah.
same as I did in 2018. It was more like I said, it's I view Black Sheep, and I don't thought if I said this before or after the call, but it's you know they're the mid-major champion. they're the team that got in, and they definitely were going to make tournament. And this is about where you expect them to get to, about the quarterfinals. Get into the Sweet 16, maybe in the Elite Eight, but not to the Final Four.
There's a
Or
Right.
react.
losing in the regional before losing before the regional champion or something like that. But still, and so I'll move on to our trivia question because it is dealing with Black Sheep. I figure we get to this point, and John Bush of All Music called A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, quote, playfully satirical, witty, and incredibly imaginative, and stated that, quote, Black Sheep hit a height with their debut that few hip hop acts would ever reach. But it would only peak at number 30 on the US Billboard 200 and was certified gold in April of 1992. Certified gold, meaning it sold 500,000 copies. That was right before the turn of the century. Right before the turn of the century, The Source, which when it still meant something, it put A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing in their 100 best rap albums. So it still meant something to a source that still meant something to hip hop. So all of that to say, in 2022, where did Rolling Stone put A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing in their 200 greatest hip hop albums of all times? So there's a lot of numbers in there because I like throwing a lot of numbers at people. But essentially, where did this album in the top 200 according to Rolling Stone? Dan, you got a number?
That Rolling Stone was weird, but it's probably something like 32.
32. Okay. Penny,
I'm going to say 63.
63. Ed,
Damn, Rolling Stone. I figured they put it like 145. You know what? I'm gonna go at 130.
130. 32. Dan, Kenny, you said
63.
63. And Ed, you're going to go with 135?
Yep.
All right, 135. Those are the numbers. Thanks for listening. However, whether it's on Spotify or Pandora, or if you're listening on Apple Music, please leave a review. You can watch this and every episode of the Terminal Podcast at youtube.com/ at Terminal Pod. It's the channel for all your questions. The answer to this trivia question will be in the description. I'll be back soon enough with hopefully something better to put down. Dan, Kenny, Ed, thank you very much. Uh, Take it easy down your life's highway and have a good evening.